In the background of Tevad's grand adventures, something else is always cooking. It simmers in side quests many may skip, and in the quiet corners of less hyped storylines. The kind we click through just to get the primo gems. But buried beneath those skipped dialogues are some of the game's, dare I say, most human stories. In Fontaine, we meet a chef named Escoffier, not a genius in search of glory, not a character screaming for the spotlight. That never mattered to her. Tucked away in her kitchen, refining dishes with mechanical mastery and more heart than she'd ever admit. Because it was never about the title in the first place.
In the realm of creation, praise arrives last. It trails behind the long hours of silence, the drafts no one reads, the failures no one sees. We marvel at the final product, the dish, the design, the performance, but rarely reflect on what it took to get there. 3 years, 1 gâteau. Not because she was slow or not good enough, but because she respected the process. She didn't rush to impress, she pursued a flavor that lived only in her memory. That pursuit, quiet, consistent, and deeply personal, was belief in its truest form. Lo and behold, she reimagined the famed Gâteau de Bourg. Everyone raves about it, and she earned high praises because of it. She didn't chase titles. She didn't create to become the best. Not a pâtissière suprême, nor a master of precision gastronomy. What mattered more was the process and the people she cooked for. That belief didn't come from grand speeches, but from years of exacting care. The kind of care that leaves no room for shortcuts. The kind you don't brag about because you're too busy living it. She calls herself a flavor extractor. Not a genius, not a legend. Just someone who believes there's still more to be discovered. If you're willing to look closer and care deeper. She doesn't want haute cuisine to remain confined to high-end restaurants. Her goal is to make it accessible, elevated without being exclusive. She also doesn't hoard knowledge. She refines it, translates it, then makes it accessible. Not gate-kept, just generous. And that's not lowering standards, that's refining her purpose. You see, Escoffier's story isn't about chasing the highest peak. It is about bringing the peak down to where more people can reach it, and then building new peaks from there. It is raising the floor so more people can stand with you. And that right there is the part of creative work no one claps for. The part where you don't go viral, where you don't get thanked. The part where you quietly make something better because someone, someday, might need it. That is belief. And belief, like flavor, needs to be extracted with intention. And sometimes belief, like butter left unattended, hurdles when mishandled. Not because you lack talent, but because you stopped tending to it. Because no one told you that even when no one's watching, you still deserve to make something beautiful, let alone something. Maybe you think your best work is already behind you. Maybe you think your moment passed. But what if belief isn't static? What if it breathes? What if it grows as you do? Escoffier didn't stay stuck in one golden era of achievement. She kept building, she kept experimenting and researching, even found new inspiration from a single encounter. She let her purpose change, and she followed it with her head down, hand steady, heart open. Self-doubt appears in broad daylight, often disguised as perfectionism, pressure, or comparison. We forget that failure is not always the fault of the creator. Sometimes it is the tools, sometimes the sabotage comes from elsewhere, and sometimes it is just not your day. But the question remains, what will you do with what you have? The answer is never easy for most people, but it is always yours. Try not to be the best for one day and start wondering, what else could I make? That's where things start to get interesting again. That's where the sparks return. Not because you've figured everything out, but because you're letting yourself keep going, even when the direction changes and even when the road bends. You are still cooking. The new kitchen consultant of Hotel de Boer doesn't romanticize the struggle. She works with what's in front of her: good tools, fresh ingredients, sharp instincts, and people she trusts. And when she doesn't know the answer, she experiments, she tastes, she adjusts. She also embraced technology not as a gimmick, but as a tool. From her mind-responsive tale to her custom-built culinary mech, she saw no conflict between tradition and innovation. Only possibility. If it didn't harm anyone and helped her serve a better flavor, she used it. That is not naivety, that's vision, a belief that moves a craft forward. It is not flashy, but it is real. And this is what gets overlooked sometimes. Creativity doesn't retire. It reinvents itself. It evolves. Your worth isn't locked to one moment of success, especially not locked to tradition. And neither is your ability to keep building. To be honest, you don't have to cling to one thing forever just to prove you still got it. That is fear talking. So, you can pivot. You can rest. You can change. You can call in an extra pair of hands, and none of that means you're failing. In this generation, effort has somehow become unfashionable, as if trying hard is embarrassing, as if care is cringe. But here is the truth. Effort isn't weakness. Care isn't cringe. Effort is a signal. It tells people that this thing mattered to me and I made this because I believed it was worth the work. Tools, methods, or techniques that are traditional or futuristic were never the heart of creation. The intent was. And she knew innovation had to be thoughtful. Otherwise, you get results that look good on paper but lack soul on the plate. Maybe the most revolutionary thing you can do as a creator is to keep caring. Even when it's not trendy, even when it's not profitable, even when no one claps. Because care builds trust, it builds culture. And when you create with care, your work lasts longer than hype. It is not a lightning strike or a divine title from the powers that may be. It doesn't even get anything. It is just you waking up again, choosing to try again, bringing your ingredients to the table and saying, let's see what we can make today. Now, making anything is messy. You'll burn things, undercook things, start over not because you failed, but because you are learning. Eventually, you'll create something that tastes almost like the vision in your head. Maybe not perfect, but enough to keep going. Having made something doesn't guarantee fulfillment, recognition, or even a clear path. But it does make one understand what the crux of the matter is. Because maybe you don't need a new miracle, you just need a little more time, a little more care, and a little more faith that what you're making still matters, even if it's not on the menu yet. Even if it doesn't make it into the menu. No matter your method, whether you stir until it sings, wait for the right moment to turn the heat, or knead until your hands ache, what matters is that it works for you and for what you're trying to create. Because creativity isn't a competition, it is a craft. You can dedicate yourself to one specialty or explore many. What counts is the sincerity you infuse into it and the flexibility to adapt when the flavors shift. The best dishes are rarely made in isolation, they are shared, shaped, and seasoned by more than one soul. To really try, is brave. And to nurture that effort, that is belief. And you don't get the taste of belief without showing up hungry. So keep showing up. And most of all, especially for the lost, for those who feel stuck or don't know who to become or what to create, just let yourself cook.